growing group of Americans is redefining its vision and its version of the American dream by leaving their homes behind. The Washington Post reports 1 million Americans are embracing a modern nomadic lifestyle by packing up their things and living out of their RVs.
Many say it has improved their lives and even their marriages, and others say that you can even bring your kids with you. So Heather Long is an economics correspondent for the Washington Post, and she joins us now. Heather, give us a little bit of background about this trend. What do you think it makes it so attractive to people?
Well, a lot of people that I spoke with, at first it sounds like a crazy idea. I mean, you go from living in some cases, 2,000 square foot homes, very nice, several bedrooms, to suddenly living in 200 square feet to 400 square feet. So smaller than most studios, even in New York City. But I think over time, what really attracts people to this lifestyle, and a lot of people said, I just thought I'd try it for a few months, and here I am several years later doing this and never wanting to move back to my suburban home. And the key reason, there are two key reasons. One is travel, meeting people, seeing America not just between the coasts, but all across the nation. And the other one is people. You learn to live with less. You learn to shed some of this consumerist lifestyle that we've all embraced, and you focus instead on experiences and on relationships, and in many cases on bonding closer with your family.
Heather, you wrote a really fascinating article for the Washington Post about this, and you profiled several families who've done exactly just that. But I always love reading comment section. I don't know if you do that, too. Some reporters don't like to do that because, but I don't think for an article like this, it gets that heated. And it's interesting to read what some people say because it does sound sort of enticing and a lot of fun. But then people are like, wait, what about all those kids? What about health insurance? What about, so some of the things that might seem appealing to some people, the hard reality, I think, makes you think twice about doing that. But what did some of those folks tell you?
I think you're absolutely right. Health insurance is probably the biggest hurdle for a lot of people. Many still have to have some sort of, quote, home base, and just in order to open a bank account or in order to get health insurance through one of those state exchange programs that are offered. So I think you're right. There are some practical hurdles. The other one that somebody reminded me, and I put in the article because I thought it was a good reminder, it's not like you're just traveling around, you have no worries. There's probably more maintenance to do on an RV than there is on a typical home. So there's still a lot of chores to be done around the house, let's put it that way, whether you have 2,000 square feet or 250.
And what about work? I was thinking, you hear this fantasy about people who are working from home. I don't know any of those people who can just work from a laptop unless they're like Instagram entrepreneurs and they're like selling their lifestyle on Instagram. But what do these people do for a living?
It's a huge mix of things. A handful of people are able to work remotely, those lucky people. I profiled one who was a government contractor who's able to log in from her RV wherever she is in the United States. But the bulk of the people that I met are doing what you might call gig work. So they're helping to clean out the bathrooms at a campsite in exchange for some money, or they're working in an Amazon warehouse through a seasonal program they have there called Camper Force, where they hire people from September through December to help during the peak package delivery season. Or security guards is another popular one. You can do it for a few weeks and then move on to the next place. And look, a lot of people admit they are earning way less than they used to. Most people I talk to, this lifestyle, maybe they're earning around $20,000 a year. So they're going perhaps from a middle class life to a much reduced life. But their point that people kept stressing to me is you really don't need as much money as you think if you cut back on those expenses and on buying all these goods that we stuff our homes with.
So finally, I guess the question is, you point out in your article that sales of RVs have risen dramatically. What are the demographics that are driving people to do this? Because the economy is doing well. It's not as if the unemployment rate is high. Why are people doing this?
Yeah, you're right. When I first started looking into this, I thought I was going to meet a lot of people who lost their homes and were really destitute. And I want to be clear, there are some of those people who are living in RVs because they have no other choice. The campsite I visited in Tennessee, was probably like 10 to 15% of the people there were in that condition. But what surprised me is how many people were doing this by choice. They were doing this because they wanted to be doing it, not because they had no other options. And what's interesting is you point out this used to be a trend for white retirees. People would hit 65, they would say, I want to do something different with my life before I die, and they would go on the road. And now what we're seeing is half of new RV sales are going to people under 45. So it's the millennials, it's the Gen Xers who are starting to do this. Some people are doing it with their kids to give them a different lifestyle. And there's also been a real rise in families of color doing this. I profiled one Latino family who's on the road. Now again, this is there's a long way to go before things change on the road and is more diverse, but it's starting to get there.
I can only imagine either of our mothers if we say we're hitting the road. Yeah. So yeah, both of our parents are immigrants, and they would not. Have that
I tried to convince my mother moving to Queens, which is where I was born, right, which is where they landed when they got to New York City, is a good thing. They think that I'm moving backwards. If I tell my mom I'm moving to Queens, she's like, "Did you lose your job? What's going on?"
So if you're moving to an RV.
Not going to happen. But it sounds really awesome. Heather Long, you wrote a great article for the Washington Post about this. I urge our viewers to check it out. Thank you for sharing some time with us.
Thanks a lot.